Hello, you're welcome. You're welcome onto this channel today, and it gives me great joy to observe you are viewing this video. I'm Professor Olayinka Akwale. I'm a lecturer in the university. On this channel, I do a number of stuff, but all the stuffs I do on this channel, sociology, research, international migration, relationship, are very central. The video you are viewing now is within the cluster of my videos on sociology, economy as a social institution in sociology. We look at economy here, why it's so important. We have dropped videos on social institutions in sociology. I've done video on religion. I've done video on politics. I've done political economy. So this one is on economy. And I will drop more on family. I will drop more on other institutions like mass media or social media. I'll drop more videos that will also still talk about other social institutions, including family and the rest of it. So stay tuned as I drop these videos. So you welcome. So what economy? We are so interested in economy in sociology because we are interested in socialization processes, how human beings behave, and how social institutions affect how people behave. So economy is one of those fundamental traditional social institutions that regulates human behavior, that determine human action through the production, distribution, consumption of goods and services in society. We talk about the production, the distribution, the ownership, the consumption of goods and services in society in a definite mode of production. So in every society, there are different modes of production, but most societies today are capitalist in terms of their modes of production. And I will talk about this later. So in these videos, we understand the importance of economy as a social institution. You understand the economic systems in history, economic system and ideologies in history. You will also understand the functions of social institution, of economy as a social institution. You understand the major perspectives through which we can understand this. And once you look at all of this, you will be on top of the game in terms of understanding economy. Economy is very important because one way or the other, wants to work, wants to consume, wants to produce, wants to distribute, you are going to be affected because economy has fundamental norms and values embedded in it, just like in family, in religion, in politics, in mass media, in education, or in social media, in peer group, and the rest of them. So through these norms and values, embedded in economy, it regulates human behavior. So and you look at the complex interactions that go on within in the process of ownership, of production, of manufacturing, of trade and services within a state or private. You have sectors. Whether you're looking at it from the private sector perspective, from state perspectives, from workers' perspective, from consumption perspective, from distribution perspective, you will understand that human beings pass through all these stages in the economic system. And there are ways they are expected to behave. That's why when sociologists want to understand human behavior, they look at different institutions. And part of that is the economy. And the importance of economy, you can look at the livelihood. It provides livelihood for people. People make a living from it. It's a form of social organization. Societies are organized in ways that people behave. And for us to understand behaviors of people, how these organizations are very important. Social relations also go on in these social institutions, and economy is a major one. People relate through production. You have the owners, you have the workers, and the rest of it. There is resource allocation in these social institutions also. As resources are allocated in the social in economy, power plays, power struggle, survival, livelihood, demand, supplies, all of them happen. And as all of this happen, it has implications for human behavior. And there are different economic systems, ideologies in history. You can start from the hunting and gathering society, where people basically do not really produce significantly. They move from one place to the other, looking for what they will eat. We call them hunters and gatherers. They hunt for survival. They gather, plants, they gather fruits which they eat. This is the simplest society in history from anthropological and sociological perspective. They talk about slavery. In slavery society, in history, this is where human beings had the articles of trade. People are captured, through wars. People are sold to slavery. People, and from this, people become the articles of trade. People, human beings, are what people prize in terms of demand and supply. That is slavery. In this, you have relationship between the slaves and the slave owners. Slaves and the slave owners. And you can understand human relations in this kind of slavery society through this perspective. Then you have feudalism as an economic system or ideology. In feudalism, some people call it feudalism, but in feudalism, you talk about land as the article of trade. Ownership of land determines the level you're going to occupy in that society. In this place, you have the landlords and you have the serfs. The landlords, the owners of the land, and the serfs who work on that land, and through that, they earn their living. You have the landlords and the tenants. You have the landlords and the farm hands, the tenants. But fundamentally, land is the article of trade in this particular system. And the relationship is between the lords, the lords, and the serfs. You have the landowners and those who don't own land. The landlords, we call them the lords, and those who do not own land. And these people work on this land. Sometimes they pay royalties, they pay tributes, they pay all manners of things. They use what they harvest on the land to pay, or sometimes there are many other conditions. Many of them go into intermarriages, going into any income. Some of them use also in terms of use parents, or some of them use what they harvest to pay for that. It's different reasons. These are historical. At the same time, you may have some elements of this in different societies, depending on your level of analysis. They talk about capitalism, which is the most dominant mode of production today, which is the most dominant economic system today. This is where the forces of demand and supply determine prices, and everything is based on private ownership of the means of production. Profit is a major driver in this place. Then you have the owners of means of production, those who have land, labor, and who have other things they want to, they put together in productive activities. And this is very important for us because when you have then you have the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, the owners of means of production and those who don't own the means of production. You have people who sell their labor in this place. So profit is the most important element in this place, and you have the workers, you have the owners of means of production, the proletariat who don't own the means of production, and the bourgeoisie who owns the means of production. But profit and private ownership of means of production is key, is a defining factor here. And this mode of production, economic system, economic ideology is the most dominant today, especially since the fall of USSR and Eastern Europe. Now America, Europe, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, all these countries are leading. But America, United States of America, is the leader in this sector. But there's deep penetration of capitalism across the world now. Private ownership of means of production, rolling back the state. So when you look at this from the perspective of Karl Marx, talking about moving also to socialism and capitalism. In socialism, the state, which is another level, the state owns the means of production and the sources of the society in trust for everybody. So then you have communism, where is everybody holding resources in trust for everybody, to everyone according to his needs or to our needs. So you have all this level, but now capitalism is more predominant today, because even in China, they're saying it's a communist society, it's a socialist society. You have ascendancy of capitalism, even in China, even in Russia, which is the remnant of a Soviet USSR, the defunct Soviet Union. Without disintegration, even China is moving closer to capitalism. The evidence, the proofs are there. So these are different economic systems in history that you can talk about. So you have hunting and gathering society, slavery, feudal society, capitalist society, socialist society, communism or communalism, depending. But Karl Marx theorized that capitalism is pregnant with the seed of its own destruction. capitalism will go just like hunting and gathering, slavery, feudalism went into extinction or become less predominant. That capitalism is predominant today, but it will also go away and will give room to socialism and communism. Well, if that is true or not, we see here, we still see capitalism ascending. So now, what are the functions of economy as a social institution? What are the functions? A major function is socialization. All these social institutions, their major element is to socialize people, to inculcate the norms and values of societies in the members of that society. There's a video on socialization on this channel. Then there's also production, to produce what people need. You produce goods and services. You need car, you need a phone, you need a car, you need a laptop, you need to build a house, you need to produce products, you need to offer services. This is within the economic system. Then you have to distribution is also another function, seamless distribution, after production. Then you have social control. That's why people are expected to behave in certain ways when you are employed or in the economic system. Otherwise, you are fired, you are sacked. If you don't want to be sacked, you don't want to be demoted, you want to earn salary, then you have to behave in certain ways that are acceptable. So that is social control. Then social order, organizing productive activities and distribution of services to provide order. The major interest of sociology is social order. Then status. People earn their status and identity based on their role in the economic system. When you say you are rich, when you say you are a big boy, when you say you have blown, when you say you earn fat salary. And people respect you for that. You get quality of life that is more than average. So you have an identity. You are a bourgeoisie. You have an identity. You are owner of production. You have an identity. You are a proletariat. You have an identity. You are a lord. You are serf. You have an identity. You are a landowner. You are a slave. You have an identity. So it gives identity to people. You are an MD. It's an identity. Then it also regulates consumption. The consumption, social mobility. People can be poor, then they can move up if they acquire the means of production from the Marxian perspective. But it also leads to inequality. It stratifies, because if you don't own the means of production in the capitalist system, you are a slave. You become a proletariat, a worker. If you don't own land, if you are a slave, you become lower class. And so it builds inequality, but it also allocates resources, resource allocation, employment creation, and it leads to innovation and development. Like if you are in a capitalist system, in an economic system, if you can innovate, you may be able to move. Though it depends on whether its mobility is based on ascribed status or achieved status in terms of inequality. In some society, they believe it's closed society where you cannot move up or down. But in the capitalist system, you can move if you are able to achieve significant things. But in slavery, once you remain a slave, they may say you remain a slave, but there may be changes. But if you are able to innovate and contribute to development in a significant way, then you may be able to move. So lastly, I will tell you about the three major perspectives you can use to explain that can determine your explanation within an economic system. You have functionalism, number one. There's a video on functionalism on this channel. Then you can use conflict perspective. There's a video on conflict perspective on this channel. You can use interactionist perspective or non-structuralist perspective. There's a video on this channel. So all these perspectives, you can use, that will determine. Perspective is a way of thinking. It's an approach to thinking, different from paradigm. There's a video on perspectives on this channel. There's a video on paradigm on this channel. So you can view. Functionalism would simply say that for any economic system, once it performs a positive function, for far it's existing, is functional. But conflict will say the economic system can build a lot of antagonism in the society. And interactionist is more micro. There's a video on micro sociology and macro sociology on this channel. View those videos. Interactionists talk about human agency within a smaller cluster of interaction. Interpersonal relationship that is not structural. So functionalism and conflict perspective are structural approaches, but interactionists, they are non-structural and they're micro perspective. You can talk about George Herbert Mead. You can talk about Max Weber in this place. Whereas in conflicts, you can talk about Marxism or Karl Marx, in terms of conflict perspective. But in functionalism, you can talk about Robert Kennedy and others within that system. So you can use functionalist perspective, you can use conflict perspective, you can use interactionist perspective in explaining the economy as a social institution. Till I see you in my next video, kindly click subscribe on this channel. Subscribe on your screen right now and share as widely as possible. Bye for now.